want to talk about target panic and what causes it and the best way to eliminate it for most bow hunters. Target panic is something that I've struggled with over the years, and I think a lot of archers do. It stems from the way that we try to execute the shot. And it comes from a command inside of our head that says now. So let's say that we've got the pin on the spot we're trying to hit or close to it. We're moving it around, we're getting it pretty close, and our brain is trying to time it. It's trying to time that moment when the pin gets to the spot we're trying to hit with our finger pulling the trigger on the release aid. Target panic can even occur for people who release the string with their fingers. It's just a timing, miscommunication between your fingers and your brain. It's an anticipation. Your brain wants to issue a now command, and when it does, it wants that pin to be right in the exact right spot. Well, that creates a lot of tension, a lot of turmoil, I guess, within your whole nervous system, within your brain. You cannot get the pin to hold steady on the spot you're trying to hit because there's this internal now command. So the whole trick with getting rid of target panic is to eliminate the now command. And people have a lot of different tricks for doing that. The style that I've found to work the best is simply to create a surprise release. If you know when it's going to go off, you can time it. If you don't know when the shot's going to go off, it's impossible for you to time it. So the trick, of course, is try to hit the spot you're aiming at the same time that you're creating a surprise release. It's a lot easier than what you think. It takes a little bit of reprogramming of your central nervous system, but you'll be shocked at how accurately you can shoot without telling your finger when to pull the trigger. So here's how it works. I've got two index finger triggered releases here. They're both from Spot Hog. And by the way, I've been shooting these Spot Hog releases now for a couple of years, and they have got the best triggers that I have ever used on the market. I mean, these things, there's no creep, and then boom, they go. They're perfect for creating this style of release that I'm going to talk about today. So you want to get them sized up so that when you're at full draw, finger on the trigger, that you're deep into your finger. Most people have the tendency to be out on the tip of their finger with the index finger triggered releases. You need to have the strap shortened or the stem shortened so that you're contacting the trigger deeper into your finger. This allows you to desensitize that finger a little bit more and allows you to squeeze the trigger without feeling quite as much dexterity in that index finger, and that allows a lot easier surprise release. So both of these models have adjustable stems. This one is a hard stem, the other one was a soft stem with a nylon web. Shorten it up so that you're contacting the trigger ideally inside of that first joint. So if you're clear into the second knuckle, or the second, articulation, I guess, of your index finger, you'll be surprised when you start to squeeze there that you don't have nearly as much sensitivity to when that shot's going to go off. So the next challenge is to make an accurate shot. And most people assume because you're not commanding it that your shot's going to be all over the place. But what I found is it's a lot easier to float your pin around the spot that you're trying to hit while you're squeezing the trigger than it is to get it to lock on that spot for that moment when you say now. So I feel like for most people, once they get this reprogrammed, they're actually going to shoot a lot more accurately because they're going to be able to keep the pin floating. And that's the whole goal here. You don't lock that pin on the spot you're trying to hit. You let it float. You let it float in little figure eights, little small circles, whatever it is. You're just trying to keep it as close to the spot that you're trying to hit as you can as you squeeze the trigger. The human body has some kind of a mysterious centering mechanism so that even when the pin is starting to wander off the spot that you're trying to hit, when the shot actually goes off, it's going to find its way back to the middle. And I think it's because you're always trying to move it toward the middle. When it's off, you're moving it in. So there's always this centralizing of all the movements when you shoot this way. So don't be as nearly concerned about trying to hold the pin exactly on the spot you're trying to hit. Let it float and squeeze the trigger while you're doing that. And you make the most of it with these index finger triggered releases by shortening up the stem, getting the trigger further into your index finger, and then just squeezing the trigger nice and slowly while you float the pin. And I've had target panic over the years where my pin would lock off the spot and I couldn't get it there, or I'd get flinchy trying to, I don't even know what you call it, almost double punch the trigger. The trick that I've found to solve target panic for me is to create the surprise release, and with the index finger trigger releases, you just do that by shortening up the stem so that you can get your finger a little bit deeper into the trigger and then just squeezing. Don't even think about your finger. Just think about keeping the pin as close to the spot as you can while it's floating around, and just let your finger squeeze, 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 boom, off it goes. The result will be a lot less turmoil, mental turmoil while you're shooting, and a lot more accuracy.